Greetings and salutations. My name is Michael Schwahn and welcome to the channel. We have some more reaction content for you, and today we are looking at Superfuse. Now, Superfuse is essentially what you would get if you wanted Diablo, but made out of like DC superheroes. And I realize we already have something like that. It's called like Marvel Ultimate Alliance. And you know, if that's what you want to go for, absolutely go have some time with Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I'm not going to stop you. At least Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, I think, is the one that's definitely more Diablo-y, the most recent one. And I think the other ones are actually something slightly different. Regardless, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Superfuse. That is the general pitch that I have for you, and it's getting closer to being a thing. So we have the official reveal trailer back from March, the gameplay trailer from the Summer of Gaming in June, and then an official preview from IGN. So let's just see. This first reveal is super short. So
they think they are heroes.
Why, YouTube? Why are you like this?
Heroes fighting to save their worlds. They know
that was
nothing of
bloody.
reality. And they won't live long enough to learn.
Man.
Break time's over.
Okay, I was like, can you imagine seeing that 2-second clip as the entirety of the gameplay they were going to show off? It's still super short, right? But Jesus. There's some serious... What the fuck is this, by the way? I'll worry about that later. But man, for a superhero game, they're sure being like, well, you know what would happen if Superman actually punched a human being? Hades? I mean, general idea, yeah. I mean, probably same relatively gameplay style, because Hades is kind of a Diablo-y, but it's a roguelite, right? Whereas I don't believe this is meant to be a roguelike. I can check the Steam page. I have it open. Nope. Action RPG, hack and slash, superhero co-op. So, all right. I meant to full screen. Show us more. This is the gameplay
30
trailer.
years ago, we thought we had contained the corruption on Earth. We were wrong. The corruption has reached the colonies. If we don't stop it, humanity...
Whole lot of gameplay going on. There you go.
With great power, well, you know the rest.
We're not legally allowed to say the rest. Okay, let's take a look at this IGN preview that they have. IGN very often gets like hands-on previews of games. So let's look, because I'll say even that gameplay trailer didn't really sell me a whole lot on it.
Like ARPG, where instead of selecting from a handful of preset abilities, you could handcraft your very own heroic persona down to the finest detail. That's precisely what comic book-inspired superhero adventure game Superfuse hopes to deliver, and so far, developer Stitchhead's Entertainment's ambitious undertaking shows a lot of potential. The plethora of combat options feature dozens of combinations of abilities, modifiers, and status effects that pile on submenus within submenus to create one of the most disgustingly customizable hero builders I've ever seen. It's a stat-consumed nerd's dream, and if Stitchheads can pull it off, I could easily see it becoming my next obsession. Superfuse is a dungeon crawling style game in the
I'm gonna pause real quick, okay? And that, like, one of the things that I'm initially feeling about this, all right, is that, like, so the actual art direction I do kind of like. I like these thick comic lines. You got like the general like dotted lines on like the UI and stuff down here. Like the visuals are all right, but the actual gameplay, it looks so this is going to be a weird word. It looks pillowy, okay? And what I mean by that is that, like, especially like in this gameplay trailer that they had a moment ago that we like, so we watched this one, And they really just showed off like these special skills that had like these blood effects, but they didn't feel like they had any impact, any weight or anything behind them. And even in this part, it didn't feel like you were doing anything. Like, he's like using these abilities, but it feels like he's just punching pillows. And it just doesn't feel like there's any chunk to it, even if chunks are coming off of the enemies. It doesn't feel like your actions matter at all. It feels so flat, which is...
But it trades in the wizard hat and dragons
I don't
for
know.
a futuristic sci-fi world wrapped in a comic
Cushion's
book
another good
aesthetic
word.
and art style. As you might expect, you spend a lot of your time blasting your way through hordes of enemies and collecting loot as you explore new areas, tackle quests, and level up. It's a loop you probably know well if, like me, you've been addicted to life-consuming ARPGs of the past. But any similarity to my
I've definitely
looting
been hooked on
adventures
some
of yesteryear
ARPGs, but
ended
this
the
doesn't
moment I
look
opened up
the way
menu
that
and was
some of
greeted
those
by
have looked.
piles upon piles of skill trees and customization options in one of the most intricate power creation systems I've ever beheld. From the beginning to the end of my time with Superfuse, it was all about options. After selecting my base hero, the Berserker, a hulking beast of a man with
None of these
muscles for
options look
days,
exciting.
I almost immediately found myself defining what kind of hero I would become, evolving it along the way. It started with progressing down fairly straightforward talent trees to determine the kind of hero I'd develop into, like one upgrade path that was all about brute force and melee domination, or another that imbued my Berserker with Thor-like lightning abilities. Progressing down my chosen talent tree unlocked super abilities, such as the ability to lob lightning axes as part of the lightning-themed talent tree, as well as passive traits meant to synergize with my build. But things got much more interesting once I began to
Maybe
customize
it's also
the
the
super
audio
abilities I was
design. The
unlocking.
audio is so boring, right? Like, it's just like a... There's no force behind the sound either.
With Superfuse's Skill Creator. You see, each ability I unlocked had a dedicated skill menu of its own, where additional modifying sub-abilities could be unlocked to customize how exactly that power works. So in my lightning axe throwing scenario, I could increase the range of that power, give the axe the ability to bounce off of walls, or even make it split into a cone of multiple axes. The startling number of options available for each power allowed me to make my hero's power my own. But it didn't end there. If I didn't like any of the out-of-the-box power customization options, I could access yet another customization submenu called Power Fuses, which were modifiers that could be dragged and attached to
And
the
see,
skill
like, all of
creator
this
tree to
customization
homebrew
is
my own
cool.
effects.
Like, it's
The
cool
amount
that
of
it's an
skill fuse
option,
options were
but it
nearly
doesn't feel like I need to
encompassing
care about
just
the
about
options
every
if
effect
all of
you
them
can
aren't
think of,
exciting.
From adding a poison effect, to sapping health from the enemy upon kill, to spreading the electricity across a whole group of enemies. Each skill fuse, once added to the skill creator tree, could then be modified with its own sub-effects for an even more granular level of customization. For those keeping score at home, that's 5 levels of customization. Selecting a hero, then choosing the base powers you want to unlock from that hero's talent trees, then selecting how you want that ability to function within its own dedicated skill creator menu, then modifying that skill tree with power fuses, and finally modifying those modifiers so they work exactly the way you want. The whole process was completely overwhelming in the best possible way, and it was genuinely hard to pull myself away from the menu as I imagined all the different death cocktails I could create.
Couldn't pull
with
myself
the
away
nigh
from the
endless
customization
amount of
menu because it was the
freedom
most
Superfuse
exciting part of the
granted me.
game.
This means that when playing with friends, even two superheroes molded from the same character class could operate completely differently, with one Berserker being a melee-focused monster wielding a giant hammer, while another slays from a distance with crazy lightning abilities. I can't wait to see what kind of crazy concoctions players come up with when Superfuse is released in early access later this year. For more on the latest action RPGs, check out the trailer for the V Rising.
No, I'm alright. So this hasn't been released into early access yet. This gameplay preview from IGN is from March, and the last time we heard about this game was in June, and at the time of this recording it's September, and we still haven't heard about early access for it in terms of like when that'll be available. And Tokyo Game Show and stuff is over, so unless this game ends up appearing at the Game Awards in December, I don't believe there's many opportunities left for this game to be shown off in terms of an announcement on a major platform for its early access. And like, I'll just reiterate again, it feels like it should be good, but it, for some reason, just looking at it, just looks so unexciting. Which is odd, right? Because it's like, oh man, you actually have a pretty solid visual style. Your art direction's pretty solid. You have all these skill customizations. Like, you got this really good approach and all of these things, and it's just not appealing. And I feel like that's a problem, because if you look at the smallest little moments, it's like, oh, that was a cool ability and it blew up all these dudes, but it didn't feel like it mattered that it blew up all those dudes. And it didn't feel, I wasn't even playing, and it didn't look like it felt good to blow up all of those dudes. So yeah, that's Superfuse. I don't, at this point, care at all. And that's unfortunate. I really like ARPGs. I think that they're really fun games. Things like Diablo, Grim Dawn, Titan Quest, and there's a whole host of others. The Adventures of Van Helsing, Torchlight. It's a really great genre, and I think that there's plenty of room still, amazingly, for more games within this genre, especially because people that are into this genre, they'll devour the games pretty heavily, and some of them try to have a level of replayability or end game content that you can really grind through, but even then, like, that doesn't go on very far because of the nature of these games and the people that play them. I feel like there's always room for more of these, but I don't feel like this one actually lands very well, and it's not even out yet. Now, that does mean that they still have an opportunity to change that. It hasn't hit early access, and some of the complaints that are filed here, maybe they're aware of them, and we could see this game get a little bit more pizzazz, as bad of a word as that is. But at this point, I'm not even interested in it at all. So that's Superfuse. I love ARPGs, but mostly only the ones that does it in a 3D environment. So Van Helsing and a few others. I'm trying to, in a 3D environment. What do you mean by 3D environment? Like, what's one that's a 2D environment, I guess, is my question. Because, like, even old school Diablo 2, I mean, they were just like ramps, and I guess you couldn't like jump from one height to another, but they weren't super flat. There's a jump button in elevation. Okay. I love Diablo-esque games. Yeah, I don't know many people that don't. Like, I feel like people that play them are like, yeah, they're good fun. You know, it's like, I just like slaughtering shit. But it also doesn't feel like this game would be fun to slaughter shit. And I feel like that's part of the problem, so. Anyway, that's Superfuse. Let me know what your thoughts are. Put your thoughts down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to keep up the conversation elsewhere, two great places to do so are Discord and Twitter. And speaking of Discord, we have a channel dedicated to these reactions where you can place links of your own that we can watch together live on stream, because we do stream 4 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, and I would love to see you there. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you want to catch future videos, please subscribe to the channel. And if you go watch one of the other videos on the channel, or if I see you in the live stream, thank you and enjoy. Thank you.